Mashallah, an Arabic phrase that means God has willed it. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Federal Reserve Board Chair Kevin Warsh said the Fed is intent on getting inflation to its 2% target.
We're going to deliver price stability in the U.S. That's what this committee has signed up to do. And our objective is to do that. The tactics, the strategy, and the rest, that's still to come.
And Warsh says the Fed will stay free of political influence.
We've been an independent central bank for a very long time. We're going to be an independent central bank at this moment, and you're going to see no changes on that.
The previous Fed Chair Jerome Powell had run up against President Trump's desire for an interest rate cut. Multi-day warnings of extreme heat landed in New York, Boston, and Philadelphia on Wednesday as sultry weather pushed east just ahead of 4th of July celebrations in a region that revels in its role as a historic hub of U.S. independence. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 13 points, the S&P 500 lower by 16. More at townhall.com.
There's a moment in everyone's life when you just get tired of feeling lousy, that moment when you decide enough is enough. Maybe tying your shoes has become an Olympic sport. Maybe you had a scare at your last checkup. Maybe you're just tired of sitting this one out. Whatever the reason, when you start your journey, you don't have to do it alone. When I finally made my decision to get healthy and lose weight 4 years ago and 53 pounds ago, I knew I couldn't stay the course without support. I called PhD Weight Loss. Best decision I ever made. I've learned so much about myself, nutrition, how to balance it all, and maintain a healthy life. No more sitting on the sidelines for me. Right now, when you call PhD Weight Loss and mention Mike, you'll get 2 free weeks added to the program, and they'll pay for the cost of your food. That's a $1,500 value. Make the call that can change your life the way it changed mine. PhD Weight Loss. Call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900. Or go to myphdweightloss.com. I'm Mike Gallagher. If I can do it, you can too. PhD Weight Loss.
Tech stocks send the markets lower.
Major indexes closed lower on Wall Street as drops for several big tech companies weighed on the market. The S&P 500 slipped 0.2% Wednesday. That was the 8th loss for the index in the last 11 days. The Dow edged down 13 points. That's barely changed in percent terms. The Nasdaq Composite fell 0.7%. Several AI-related companies, including Micron Technology, fell. The big semiconductor company gave up 10.6%. Micron's stock has still more than tripled so far this year. Treasury yields rose a bit in the bond market. Crude oil prices fell. That's CPEL in New York.
The latest disclosure report listing President Donald Trump's financial holdings shows he took in about $1.2 billion last year from crypto holdings, overshadowing a real estate business that first brought him fame. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters.
At IDEA Public Schools, students are prepared not just for graduation, but for what comes next. Because when students are challenged and supported, bright futures follow. Bright futures begin at IDEA Public Schools. Learn more at ideapublicschools.org.
Sponsored by IDEA Public Schools.
When it's time to replace a roof, some people put it off until an emergency arises. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. I understand. People tell me it's way too complicated and too expensive.
Our customers tell us they wish they would have done it sooner.
I hear it all the time. Once the roof is replaced, they wonder why they waited so long because it's really not that complicated. We show up on time, we quote you a fair price, we replace most roofs in just one day. At Tejas Roofing, we take pride in making the process easy.
The cleanup is phenomenal. People always comment that it looks like we were never there. And now those customers sleep better at night knowing your new roof has been installed correctly.
When you know you need a new roof, don't put it off. Call me now, Deb Tejada at Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304. Estimates are free, 281-251-0304. When you need roofing repairs, a new roof or remodeling, call us at Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
You know, where we go in life matters, and what we do matters, and we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage, and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. You know, we live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source. And these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
Where should I begin?
Can we talk about this?
Say, what are you trying to say?
Beyond the usual controversial talk.
Blah, 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 on and on and on.
Over there. No.
1, 2, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
Prepare yourself for Craig.
Okay.
Preparing a mighty new spectacle here.
Articulate, stimulating, hits you right in the... there you go.
We start becoming a team right now.
This is the Craig Collins Show.
Lord Jesus. Oh, Lord, no.
Start talking. Talk fast.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Now your host.
He's a good man.
Craig.
That's right. It is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. Thrilled to be with you. A whole lot of stuff out there to talk about, but I will welcome a guest for the first time on my show. Certainly not the first time on KSEV. Cindy Siegel, the Harris County GOP chair, a woman that I voted for. Welcome to the show, Cindy.
Hey, how are you?
Thrilled to have you on. Happy to finally get you on this show. I know you're very in demand with some of the other shows like the Amigos and whatnot, but a lot to talk about. And I am a fairly new Texan, if you don't know. I moved here about a year ago, and I've been relatively happy. With a little bit disappointed at times with Harris County and with Houston, but not your fault. The fault of several other people that you probably don't want to be winning some of these elections. But mostly happy with Texas.
I can guess.
Yeah,
guess.
I'm sure you can. Before we get to any of that, though, I do want to ask you this. It was a big announcement just the other day. President Trump said he will be doing the first ever midterm convention, and it'll actually be held here in Texas, in Dallas. Did you have any kind of reaction to that? Is Harris County going to be involved somehow in anything?
Well,
go ahead.
I hope we are. We've heard through the grapevine from our Texas committeeman and committeewoman that it's not going to be the normal delegate process, that they're still figuring out how they're going to get representation, but they want people from across the country. But
sure.
Given that we're the third largest county in the country and the largest in Texas,
right,
I'm hopeful that we'll have strong representation.
That's awesome. Were you excited about the idea of it, a midterm convention? It's certainly unique. I thought it was a cool idea, and it might, get a lot of support or a lot of excitement back into the party, which seems to be the design of it.
I think it'll be great. And, there's nothing like the president to stir people up and get them excited and really enthused. I went to a rally that he had, I guess it was back in 2016, maybe it was 2018, but no one works a crowd like Donald Trump.
Sure. Yeah. Now that seems to be very true. All the time, the things, even today, I have audio of the president making jokes about people shaking his hand too hard, which I thought was kind of funny, and then also just crapping on a bunch of people, which is something he does uniquely well, and being upset about the Supreme Court ruling. I don't know if that's an appropriate thing to ask you about, if you had any kind of reaction to some of the Supreme Court decisions that have been put out there. I know you probably struggle a lot with decisions that get made at a more local level and dealing with how we navigate some of those things, or even the judges that run for office here. But was there an initial reaction for you to the Supreme Court decisions, especially the one about birthright citizenship?
Well, obviously we were, as a mom of two millennial daughters, I was very excited, given that they had played sports in school, to
Sure.
see that the ruling on no boys supporting Title IX.
Yes.
That there wouldn't be, that it's all determined by your biological sex. But I was disappointed in the Supreme Court in terms of the birthright. I think that the intent, I know what they're saying in terms of the Constitution, but I don't think the intent was for someone to fly in on a vacation
Yep.
or deliberately have a baby. They have all the full rights of citizenship, and then they never live in the country. And as we've seen with some of them, they are growing up in a country and they're being taught to hate this country.
Yes. Yes.
I think a citizen, you have great gifts that are given to you when you live in America, but there also is the responsibility.
Sure. No, absolutely. All right, let's focus a little bit more on Harris County. That is certainly what you do as the GOP chair here. Are there any specific races right now going on as we get closer and closer? It's crazy that it's July and that we're closer and closer to November. But are there any specific races that you'd like to focus on or highlight in a discussion? Anything you're seeing on the ground or candidates that you think are doing uniquely well here locally?
Well, I think all of our candidates are great.
Sure.
We have it's the longest ballot in the country, and
yes.
we have a very diverse and experienced group of people who are running for office. I'm excited about the opportunity that I think with Orlando Sanchez running for county judge.
Yeah.
Richard Vega running for Precinct 2, and then Steve Raddick, who is a former county commissioner, running for Precinct 4, which, even though it used to be called 3, it's now 4 when the county commissioners redistrict. So
Sure.
I think we've got a super strong slate, and we feel like the local issues are on our side. The fact is that the county commissioners under Lena Hidalgo, Rodney Ellis, Adrian Garcia, and Leslie Briones, I mean, they've really, quite frankly, they've screwed up what was a really great-run county.
Yes. Yeah.
They focused too much on leftist progressive policies, wasted a bunch of tax dollars, continue to increase our tax rate or taxes on us.
Sure.
I worry. I live in Bel Air, and I've seen lots of hurricanes come through, and I live in a flood-prone area, and I worry about, it's been almost 10 years since Harvey, and where'd the money go?
Yeah.
I don't think we're prepared for another Hurricane Harvey.
No, it's shocking the amount of questions that exist there as far as flood prevention and just preparedness goes. And I know that I've heard a lot of debates in Harris County about exactly what you just said, like, where did the money go? I thought that we all invested more in this. You mentioned Orlando Sanchez, though, so I want to go back to that for just a second. I am uniquely excited personally about that race, and I think a lot of people who listen to this station are, because, one, we've had a terrible person as the Harris County judge for the last couple years here. It's been truly, truly awful. But two, from what I'm seeing and some of the things I'm hearing, Orlando is surprising a lot of people on the Democratic side of the aisle in how much support, how much interest he is garnering, and how likely he is to be a valuable candidate to fight off Plummer. So I wonder quickly if you want to talk a little bit more about that, about the whole race and how Orlando, and he's been on multiple shows in this station too, not mine, but all the other ones. And I love listening to the guy. I think there's so many things he says that come from such a common sense place that he seems like the kind of candidate that can reach some of those voters that may have punched Democratic tickets more often in this race, but might think that Orlando is saying things that make quite a bit more sense.
Well, I think Orlando's a great candidate. I've known him for a long time. He's got exceptional experience, as a former Houston City Council member, the former city comptroller, plus business experience. And I think when you hear him speak about the problems with Harris County government,
yes,
and how he would address them and how he would lead the court, you can't help but be impressed. I mean, Plummer, she does not bring that to the table. She doesn't bring that kind of experience and knowledge and ability to reach, I hate to say across the aisle because it's kind of overrated, but we need
Sure.
we need I think today more than ever, we need some common sense brought to our county government.
Yes.
I think he can bring different groups together. He's about solutions, and that's going to be important. I think Plummer is just, she's Lena Hidalgo, but 2.0
Right.
versus the first version. And I don't think we can afford, 4 more years of, bad governance
No.
at the county level.
No, at least I want someone who shows up for the job and then also potentially doesn't buy tickets to other stuff while she's supposed to be working. When Lena Hidalgo is there, she seems to be more interested in what event she might be purchasing tickets for than actually doing any of the job. Not that she's done it well. To be honest, at times I didn't really miss her, but she missed a lot of things. So I think Orlando Sanchez, one of the first improvements would be that he'd probably show up for the gig, I imagine, every day.
Well, I think he would. I know he would.
Yeah.
He's smart. He's knowledgeable. He's very balanced. He's not someone who I've watched her and seen her in action where she just loses her cool.
Sure.
When she's screaming at the kids and, commissioners. I mean, if I had been sitting at that table running that meeting, she would have been the first person I would have had the police remove. I mean,
yes.
The fact is that I've heard it from my good friend, County Commissioner Tom Ramsey, that the Commissioner's Court is actually run better when she wasn't there.
Sure.
Which is it's a sorry state of affairs.
Right.
When your county judge can't do the job.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly. Let me ask you this. It's more of a general question, and it's one I've been curious about, and some people that I talk to that have been longtime Texans, longtime Harris County residents say it a lot. Why is the challenge, and I know this might be a really unfair question to ask you, but why is the challenge so significant to winning more races, putting up candidates that actually garner the support that they deserve in Harris County? A lot of people say they believe Harris County can be turned red. I imagine you're at the forefront of that list of people that are like, we can do it. But I wonder, why is the challenge so significant? Why do so many races wind up going the other way? And what are we trying to do differently this year to try to make more noise?
Well, I took over 5 years ago, and I bought into the, back in 2022, we heard about the red wave. But as we won, at that time, the county was blue, and we won 4 judge races.
Nice.
Then in 24, when a lot of people said there was no way with Trump at the top of the ticket that we could win races, we won 9 more. We helped flip 2 of the appellate courts. But, the day after the 22 election, I was talking to Senator Betancourt, and basically I said I was bummed out that we didn't win more races. And he said, Cindy, this is like the 90s all over again.
Yeah.
He said, we didn't lose it overnight. It's going to take a while to win it back.
Yeah.
And I think what we've been focused on is local issues. We can't control what's going on nationally, internationally, but we can talk about the local issues, which is what we've been doing. And I think returning Republicans to office, and we've seen that with the courts, what our Republican judges have done in terms of just simply getting rid of the backlog. I think that resonates more with people. It's showing them that Republicans will deliver on our promises.
Yes.
And maybe they don't like something that's being done nationally or at the state level, but we need common sense. We need practice. We need our county government to focus on what it's supposed to focus on, which is health, safety, welfare of our citizens.
Yeah.
Not these crazy progressive policies.
Yes. It's interesting. And we'll go back to the flood conversation now. I appreciate that. That's certainly one of the bigger conversations probably going on over the last few weeks, and directors resigning and all kinds of crazy things occurring there. And I guess this goes to the point you just made a second, Cindy. We really just want the people to do the stuff they promised us they're going to do and to protect our communities the way that they're supposed to. And it feels like a lot of that has not happened the way you want. And some of it is just the massive amount of mismanagement that occurs and the flood, funding, the flood this discussion about the project deadlines and everything else seems to be such a great demonstration, sadly, of a lot of those challenges. And Ramsey seems, blue in the face sometimes when he's yelling about it, when I see some of those conversations, because these roadblocks don't make sense. And these roadblocks seem to be created a lot of times for probably very bad reasons. What do you want to say about that?
Well, we passed the flood bonds, and the money was supposed to go to the areas that had the greatest need.
Right.
And, I don't know if you know, but I was mayor of Bel Air for 8 years. So I was mayor through 2 hurricanes,
Wow.
and I was on city council during Allison. So I know pretty intimately what flooding and hurricanes, what it means. So what you want to do, and that was the way that the original program was designed, was to address areas of the greatest need, because it ends up stretching those dollars and improving a bigger area. So it helps all of us. But when the Democrat Party took over county commissioners, they basically just divvied up the money by the quadrants, is my understanding.
Yeah.
It wasn't based upon what really was, let's look at the areas that are flood prone. How can we improve that? And then they kept changing it, and they were no further ahead. I mean, and it takes a while to, you have to design the project, then you've got to put out the bids, and you have to hire the construction companies. I mean, it's not a fast process, but to not be further along in 10 years,
it's crazy.
I mean, people, that alone, to drive people to the polls to vote against the Democrat Party.
Amen. Yes. Why would you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result? It seems that the people of Harris County have learned time and again that the wrong people are in a lot of positions of power, and you need the other side to get a crack at it, because things might go insanely better. Before I let you go, this is not about Harris County, but there is one other thing that I'm kind of curious what your opinion of it is. It's a pretty big story in the world of national politics, but a Republican politician out of New Jersey, Tom Keene, has said that for the last 4 months, and I think a lot of people knew this, he wasn't working, he was not at his job, but he's been struggling with depression, and he came forward, and some are praising him, but a lot of other people are asking a unique question, and the question is, how do you take 4 months off at your job, regardless of how much empathy I might have for the inevitable explanation you give me as to the cause of the thing that made you incapable of working, in the world of politics, in the world of something that's supposed to be so important? Like, your constituents basically had no representation for quite some time. And so on a sort of macro level with that question, I wonder if one of the other things you face a lot and fight a lot are the, politicians who believe that these are lifelong appointments that they're allowed to have, and they're allowed to do whatever they want, and and I'm not saying that this is Keene necessarily, but there's some level of arrogance in the assumption that you can take 4 months away for any reason and retain your job. If I were to leave for 4 months and not really explain it to KSEV, I would be fired. Most of us would be. Is there any kind of reaction you have to that concept as a whole? And again, I'm not trying to get you to, because I have empathy for it too, to criticize the reason he gave for the absence, but just the ability to be absent for so long and assume that job is waiting for you when you get back.
Well, I'm probably the wrong person to ask, because I think that, we do have empathy for people. People go through difficult times in their life,
sure.
And we'd like people to treat us like, we would hope to be treated in those circumstances.
Right.
But I don't think, let me put it this way, if I were queen for the day, I would put in term limits.
Right.
Because I don't think anyone should think that they can just be a politician, elected official for life. I think our government would be a lot better. And I think, too, it needs to be enough time that you can learn the ropes and actually accomplish something. But I think there should be term limits. I think that additionally, when the government shut down, I think Congress shouldn't be paid.
Sure. Amen to that.
They should feel what we feel.
Yeah.
They shouldn't get bumped up to the front of the line when they're flying. When they've shut down the government and we've got huge lines trying to, with TSA. Right. I think that with both parties, there is sometimes a tendency, and I hear this a lot from the grassroots, that, they said all the right things. I walked for them. I gave money to their campaign. I did all this stuff. And then they went to D.C. or they went Austin, not as much, but they still, and they forget who they represent.
Yeah.
And that's a bad thing. And I personally think term limits are the way to address it.
Amen. You're not the wrong person to ask, because I totally agree with everything you just said, by the way, and I think it makes sense. And I do think part of the shame and part of the reason that at times the entire system feels like it's cracking in some ways is because of the lack of things actually getting done. Before I let you go, anything else you'd like to say, anything you'd like to throw out there specific to Harris County, anything like that? But I definitely thank you for making the time regardless. But any last word?
Well, two things. I would say first, remember when you go to the polls in November, when your taxes have been increased as much as they have.
Yes.
Pray that we don't have a major hurricane flood because it's the Democrats who've been in charge of what's gone on with the Harris County for, since 2016, 2018. And then lastly, I just would wish everyone a very happy 4th of July. 250 years, I think, even with the problems we have, we still have the best country in the world.
Amen. And actually, one thing that's really reminded a lot of people of that, I think a lot of us feel that way, you and I feel that way, but a lot of people are watching these foreigners come in to watch World Cup games and how happy they are with a lot of what is American culture. So it's kind of cool to be seeing that for anyone that needs the reminder that we really are a great country.
We are. So happy 4th of July, and thanks for the opportunity to be on your show. I hope you invite me back.
Sure. I would love to have you back. That is Cindy Siegel. She is the GOP chair here in Harris County. She has a tough job. Out of people out there with a tough job, she has a hard job because she's trying to win over a lot of races and a lot of seats that have long gone the wrong way. And I think the most powerful thing that Cindy said a second ago, and I think a thing a lot of us need to focus on, is that if you don't like a lot of the challenges that you seem to face here in Harris County, whether it's being terrified that the next flood is going to be uniquely bad because they haven't done anything correctly in preparing us for that or creating funding the way we'd need to, whatever the case may be, if you think there are challenges, just violence in general, which is something I should have asked Cindy about and didn't, and maybe I'll talk to her about that next time. Unfortunately, the violence that ramps up quite a bit in our community and a lot of communities like ours throughout the country. If you're upset with any of those things, vote the other way. Just see what happens. Just punch the other card. I'll let those people be in charge for a few years and see if you like it. See if the things that are happening are better or worse for you. I feel like that's a pretty basic ask and one that a lot of candidates in a lot of races here in Harris County are asking you. Give my side a shot and just see what happens. All right, quick break. A lot coming up. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KJBC, the voice of Texas.
Dan Patrick for my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts.
Spring is here and summer just around the corner, which means it's time to deep root fertilize your trees in addition to spraying for insects and disease. Let Ability Trees help maintain their value and repair all damage. Fed and prune tree will be less susceptible to wind damage and uprooting. Caring for the beautiful and valuable trees on your property that you can't replace should be done by experts. And the experts I use, it's very clear. It's Ability Tree Experts and Louis Flory.
My friend for over 40 years.
Gosh, this guy is the pro when it comes to taking care of trees. You know, pruning is important for the health of your trees, and pruning limits resistance to spring storms and allows the sun and fresh air into the canopy. Trees can be in distress several months without showing any signs, so don't wait to protect your investment at 281-441-4179, 281-441-4179, or visit their website at abilitytrees.com. Right now, Ability Trees is giving a deep root feeding with every tree prune. Ability Trees, Houston's leading tree care professional.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
We got a call late New Year's Eve. A father with big plans for his family the next day said his garage door spring just snapped. He couldn't get his car out and wouldn't be able to get his family to where they needed to go. He felt stuck and alone. So we showed up fast with the right spring and the right parts to fix it right. We didn't talk about the price. We didn't wait till the morning. We fixed it right then. Because at Garage Door Doctor, it's never just about the job. It's about the person behind it. The dad, the veteran, the grandpa, the neighbor. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. When you need help, we're the ones that show up. Call Garage Door Doctor today or schedule online at garagedoordoctor.biz. We fix garage doors fast with quality parts designed to last a lifetime because we're proud to serve the people who rely on us.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
Crack open a cold can of fun with Specs all summer long. Stock up on seltzers and canned cocktails at the lowest prices at Specs. Cheers to savings. Summertime means seltzers, ciders, canned cocktails, and more at the lowest prices. And with Specs, fill your cooler, stock up and save big on all your summer essentials at Specs. Wherever summer takes you, bring the flavor. Easy, breezy, ready to drink summer favorites are on sale at Specs. Summer's about sun, fun, and ready to drink cocktails. Find your favorite canned sips at Specs and save big all season long. And if you're looking to step up your cocktail game, get insider info on seasonal recipes, or online for same-day delivery, just go to specsonline.com because the fun starts here. Specs, wine, spirits, and finer foods. Cheers to savings.
This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. A crazy thing happened today that not enough people are talking about, although it definitely was getting talked about by mainstream news media. But maybe I just haven't been hearing enough of the, broadcaster people that I'm paying attention to discussing this in greater detail. Two people climbed the Empire State Building. Phil, did you hear about this? That two people decided to climb the Empire State Building in New York all the way up to the Needle so that a guy could propose to his lady?
Yeah, I just saw that.
It's insane.
On my phone. Yeah,
this thing's. I have video of part of this that I'll play, but this is nuts. The two people who did this are definitely arrested. I guess they had a Netflix documentary that they got released in 2024 called Skywalker's A Love Story, and the tagline under it is that they break the law all the time. They climb stuff illegally, and they lived up to their reputation because they climbed the Empire State Building. That's illegal. That gets you arrested. But here's a little bit of audio of the guy getting down on one knee and proposing, and some of the video you'll see if you're watching on social media of them standing up on the top of the Needle.
Yeah. Great. Well, they can consummate the marriage in jail.
Yeah. Apparently,
Just
they don't do it here.
waste of time.
You can visibly see her taking selfies of the ring.
She's taking selfies.
Yeah. So, it's happening.
Get married and go to jail.
And dressed in black for the occasion.
With masks on. Who
It's evolved into
proposal
chaos.
in a mask?
Yeah, by the way, why are they wearing masks?
I don't have an
This
answer.
better not inspire anyone else.
I love that the whole show that was talking about this, like everybody starts talking at the same time because it's just surreal to see it, man. But like you're looking at this, the guy convinced her to climb up the Empire State Building, and they're both wearing masks, even though we know who they are and they've been arrested. They were caught. And he gets down on a knee and he proposes, and then she starts actually taking selfies of herself with the ring. Like this is terrible. And I think that social media is ruining society, and this is a great example of that. I don't know what you think about that, Phil, if you want to chime in, but I think the desire to get social media likes, this is one of the examples of how it goes too far.
Yeah, it's kind of extreme when you climb in one of the tallest buildings in the world.
Right, just to propose so that you can take the selfies and then also get arrested.
Yeah, it's memorable though.
It is memorable.
I'll never forget about that.
That's true, and maybe they're making a sequel to their Netflix movie, so this will come out at some point as a video. I just think it's so dumb, and it's such a crazy thing to see like as part of the ticker of a news thing. Like 2 people climb the Empire State Building, get arrested, guy proposing to the girl. That feels like a bad way to start a marriage. We're both married dudes. If you went to jail right at the beginning of the marriage with the missus, that feels like a bad first step.
Yeah, that's kind of the wrong direction to
Okay.
take, especially as newlyweds.
Yeah, right. Well, and she's proposed, they're engaged.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they have to do at the actual wedding. Like I assume they got to go back to jail. They got to break some kind of law just to get back in there.
Yeah, they have to. I
Right.
mean, the law is the law at the end of the day. But
Yeah,
it's-
exactly.
It's memorable though. That's the pro I could give to it.
No,
you know?
it's funny you say that, man, because every time somebody does a more memorable proposal than the one I did for my wife, I'll hear about it a little bit. She'll be like, that guy climbed the Empire State Building to propose. And I'll be like, yeah, he did.
We definitely took an L with that one for sure. Whoever did that, they
Yeah.
set a different standard.
You're
for
right.
Sure.
I took an L. It's going to be an L. Well, thank you for that. I just thought it was so funny. I saw that today, and I'm like, how is this a thing that happened? And then, of course, it is, because so many people in our society now are people that care so much about their social media accounts that they do anything to get the clicks and the likes, even if it involves the old proposal. I don't think either of those 2 people, I'm saying this in somewhat a mean way, but it is what it is, cared as much about the proposing to each other or the guy proposing to her as they did about the amount of interactions they'd get on social media for the dumb stunt they pulled that became a part of it. And they absolutely put their lives in danger. All right, shifting gears to some political things out there on a more national level. I thought this was pretty interesting. Harry Enton of CNN, the guy who gives the data that sometimes CNN does not like at all, demonstrated via another poll that Republicans are extremely proud to be American and Democrats are not. I was talking about this a little yesterday, and it kind of keeps coming up on CNN, mostly because we're barreling toward the 4th of July and the 250th celebration of the birth of our country. It's a weird time to say you're really not patriotic at all, and yet a whole lot of Democrats are saying that. Let's play this audio.
Interesting, and I would dare say a little bit nutty. How proud to be an American? Among Republicans, 93% are extremely or very proud. Just a single one, say they have little to no pride in being an American. But look over at the Democratic side. This is where we've seen this extremely or very number. It's been taking a tumble at 27%. Which is way different than the 93. You do the quick math with me here. What is that? That's a 66-point difference here in terms of extremely or very.
It's not good.
But look at this. The little or no proud to be an American actually among Democrats is greater than the extremely or very proud number. So we are just living in such
By the way, he circled it 36%. 36% of people on the Democratic side of the aisle said they have little or no pride in being an American. That is broken. That's a broken thing. And the reason that it's so broken, and it's been breaking for years now, since about 2016, when who won his first election, the thing that I'm most amazed by or most mystified by that idea, and the fact that the entire time Republicans have stayed stagnant in what they think about America, the country as a whole, even if we don't like the people in charge, in positions of power, we like the country, and we just would like to find new people to replace those people and put in positions of power, But the thing that I can't get over is how commonplace this is becoming by design. Essentially, Democrats are running on these platforms of America sucks, and it's terrible, and you should hate it, and I hate it. And more you're seeing that. And the Democratic Socialist is rising in popularity on that side of the political aisle because of this nonsense. And I mentioned it a bit ago. With Cindy, and I'll mention it again here. I think it's amazing to watch people from other countries experience the United States and experience our culture. And I know some people say they're really only going to cities. That's not true. They're traveling around in the communities, in the suburbs, maybe going from one game in one spot to another match in another spot. Still hate to call it that as far as the World Cup is concerned. But when they're doing this, they're stopping at places like Buc-ee's and really enjoying the totality of what our culture is, and it's something that many, many, many of these Democrats absolutely take for granted, and it's sort of just surreal to watch it be so prevalent. By the way, as far as the World Cup is concerned, I will say that today had a ridiculous game, and some of the games in the round of 32 matches, whatever the hell I'm supposed to call them, Phil, I don't know why I have to do that, but I guess I can do it. They've been truly ridiculous. The shootouts have been fun. But Belgium today came back from a 2-0 deficit in like the 88th minute, and they scored 2 goals before the game ended, like I think 86 and 88th minute of a 90-minute match. And then they scored again in the overtime to win this game on a penalty. I think somebody tripped somebody, and there was a penalty kick. That's ridiculous. And Belgium will now be the team that hopefully plays the United States in the next round if the U.S. can beat Bosnia tonight. We do now know who our opponent would be if we defeat someone who's definitely not as good as we are on a world stage. Normally, hopefully tonight that happens. But it's just so interesting. And I know Belgium has been a thorn in our side before, based on some of the calls and some of the things people have said. But what a ridiculous match that happened just before this one, where Belgium wins 3-2, basically at the end of the thing.
Yeah, Belgium is a good team.
They're intense, man.
They're a good team.
Yeah, I know.
They've been holding it down, and the U.S. been holding it down too. So it'll be exciting to see them in the
Sure, if we get there. Yeah. And Senegal, you feel bad for them. And what's funny? I'll say this, and I don't care a whole lot about soccer still. I'm trying. I don't care as much as I should. My wife will always react when players lose. Like, even if she likes the team that won, she'll always feel so bad for the guys who lose. And it's always the same reaction. She's like, oh, no, Craig. And I'm like, but I'm happy. I hate the Red Sox. I want to me, if my team won, I'm very thrilled. And the sadness on the other side doesn't matter. But as I was trying to watch portions of Belgium and Senegal seemed devastated to lose at the end of the game like that. And part of me actually felt bad, the way that my wife does when you watch some of these guys who don't get another opportunity now for 4 years, and they were winning 2-0 with a few minutes left, and they wind up losing 3-2. Like, the devastation of the sport was really on display in that game.
Yeah, soccer is one of those sports where it could affect you for real.
Yeah,
for real.
No, it can affect you emotionally, and also just I imagine you fell apart for just 4 minutes in a 90-minute game, and those 4 minutes are what mattered because you were winning 2-0. Then you're tied in an overtime, and then you lose in overtime. It reminded me of a Blackhawks Stanley Cup when I was in Chicago when I was actually covering it, where they scored multiple goals in a Stanley Cup game in like seconds. They had multiple goals to tie and then win a game, and it was just sort of ridiculous to see. Whenever you see that spike in scoring in just a few minutes in a game or a sport where you don't see a lot of scoring, it makes you feel even more so. I don't know. But I did feel bad for Senegal. I will not feel bad for the United States opponent if we beat Bosnia, and I won't feel bad for anybody if they lose again in the next round. I would like to see the U.S. do as much as possible well, and I think you agree with me on that.
Yeah, for sure. I think the U.S. going to go very, very far.
You do?
Yeah, I really do. They've been doing good so far.
Okay.
So I believe.
So you think they're going to go beyond even tonight? You see them winning against Belgium now?
I
had to say it.
Other team,
all right, I said no. All right. Well, we're going to take another break. After the break, we're going to come back and do a little bit more politics because I do have a couple other things that I like that I want to play. J.D. Vance did what I thought was a pretty good interview on the Michael Knowles show, and then the president said a few things that I thought were fairly amusing today, while speaking, and then we'll probably do some lighter stuff before we get out of here. But it's the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home and in need of the best realtors out there, look no further than the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. They've instilled in each and every member of their team hard work and honest values, and believe me, it's paid off. They truly know the Houston market and what it takes to get a home sold quickly and at top dollar, and how to get the best deal possible for your home purchase. They're employee-owned. They care about their clients, so they always go the extra mile to ensure each sale and purchase is seamless and smooth. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group have been a top-producing real estate team for over 2 decades. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group at 281-440-7900 or see for yourself and go online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com. They sell over 1,000 homes a year, and they know every inch of the buying and selling market in Houston. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. I chose them as my realtor. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, your realtors for life. 281-440-7900 or see for yourself online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com.
That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, brokered by EXP.
Completely, they were losing the political argument because of what was happening to world energy markets.
Yeah.
So what the President of the United States has done...
You're talking about the critics who want more bombs dropping on.
Their attitude is just drop bombs and drop bombs and drop bombs, and they can't really articulate to what end. And what the president is saying, I'm willing to drop bombs, and he's clearly shown that he's willing to drop bombs, but only if it serves an objective.
I don't think that's a bad thing, by the way. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. That is J.D. Vance doing an interview on the Michael Knowles Show. J.D. Vance is doing quite the media tour, and now he's gotten to a lot of the podcasts and other things that are out there that are not necessarily what we used to think was a valuable broadcast medium, that for some reason they don't do as much. They do radio interviews and stuff, but these people out there, Michael Knowles is one of them, have a lot of impact and wind up now being one of the stops on the campaign trail that it feels like J.D. Vance is already going on, even though that's not what he says he's doing, in the amount that he's been publicly sitting down and talking to people, mostly about his book, but also about a lot of what's going on in our society, and doing it in a way that makes me think he's trying to put himself at the forefront of any sort of 2028 race. A little bit more from this interview, most of it about Iran, because I did think it was interesting.
I'm not saying they're going to, I can't predict, of course, the future, but so one, there were scheduled talks, really technical talks building on the negotiation that we've already had. Those are definitely happening tomorrow. One of the things I find just fascinating and frustrating about the Iranians is they'll say, no, there aren't peace talks ongoing, but there are technical talks between the United States and Iran about the peace deal. It's like, okay, so it's a Persian negotiating tactic and a Persian rhetorical device that I don't understand, but that is the way that the Iranians have done.
I thought that was a really subtle way to say that they try to, in media, upend a lot of the narrative of what they're saying behind closed doors to us. He says it in one specific way about referring to something as peace talks, but we've actually seen it in a lot of what the discussion is between the Americans and Iran, and the ways in which, after we say something, they immediately reject it. It sounds as though, behind the scenes, they're making us feel very much the opposite way and kind of doing this on purpose. I think the intention, and it's long been the intention of Iran to do this, is just muddy the waters as much as possible, blame everyone but themselves, and try as hard as they can to not do any of the things that we're asking them to do. I had somebody ask me recently about Obama's deal, and if it was working, and that's laughable. That actually is laughable, because Iran was enriching uranium up to 60% and getting ridiculously close to having the capability of a nuclear weapon, something they're even saying now they still have interest in doing, as we try to convince them that's a real bad idea and they shouldn't do that, and we've blown up most of the things that they had to try to get to that end. But I just think it's amazing to think that we're where we are, and that there has been no value in some people's minds to taking the steps we've taken so far, when the reality is that if we get to the end goal that we seek, and that J.D. Vance continues to talk about in these interviews, we will have profoundly changed something. It will be quite a bit different. The risk will be far less on a world stage, because a unique enemy that does a whole lot of funding terrorism will have been confronted. And has it been a perfect conflict? Of course not. Of course there are things that happen that were horrible, or things that happen that, you wish you could do differently. And in retrospect, there might be a lot of people that wishes we never went in at all. But I can't I've said this before and I'll say this again on the show, and maybe you just don't care about Iran with a few days to go before the 4th of July anyway, which would be fair. I wouldn't blame you for that. But I'll keep saying it, and I'll keep playing audio of people talking about it because it's certainly a big thing going on. But what I'll say is we can't fully judge it until we get to the end, until we cross whatever the finish line is, however it looks, whenever we get there. And I very much still hope, to some naively, that the inevitable goal we get to is far better than the thing that we had in its place, or that any of the terrible things that we kind of have right now. I think that, getting down to that final moment and hopefully getting a lot of the checks and balances necessary to make sure Iran lives up to their promises. They don't just make promises, but they do the things they're saying, and we dangle the carrot. If that carrot is money, so be it, I guess. But not that I'd want that specifically. But again, I can't get over the idea that some people discredit what could inevitably be a far better thing. A little bit more, just a tiny bit more from J.D. Vance, and then we'll play some Trump audio.
And I don't know when this will air, probably tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. So I think what the president has said is, let's let this play out. There are a few things that we want. We want durable commitments that are verifiable and backed up by inspections that Iran will denuclearize their entire country.
I think you can mic drop right there. To me, that's what I want. I want that real bad. And I want it to be something that we can absolutely verify and demonstrate, because we didn't have it in the last agreement. And it was getting to the point where we really needed to make sure we had it, which is why the bombing took place and the destroying of nuclear facilities a year ago, and then inevitably the attacks this year. All right, I want to play this just because I was entertained by a few of these things in the world of the President of the United States, who spoke today, just days before the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, our 250th birthday. He talked about the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. I thought this was kind of funny, mentioning algae and people who were protesting protect the algae. That just seem crazy, and you don't know why they're doing that. Here we go.
Sleepy Joe Biden spent millions of dollars trying to fix it, and he was unable to do it. But we did it, and it works beautifully. It's we got rid of the algae, which they put in. They put in algae. Who the hell put in algae?
Why would they do that?
They had a couple of people with signs, protect the algae. Can you believe this? This world has gone crazy.
That does sound crazy, Mr. President. The world has gone crazy. A little bit more from President Trump.
But in the West, he tracked a 1,200-pound grizzly. My two boys know all about that. I say, are grizzlies dangerous? Is a grizzly bear dangerous? I looked at Eric and Don. They know more about that stuff than any human being, I tell you. They said, they're real dangerous, Dad. I said, are they violent, bears? They said, they're really violent, right, fellas? You said they are violent, but that doesn't scare them. Just be scared, okay, and get the hell out of there. But we want to keep you around. But when it roared, a big one, and it wanted to strike him, and it was going rapidly there, very fast. I just learned that on a beautiful airplane coming over here. He shot it squarely between the eyes, and it fell, touching him but not able to destroy him.
All right, I loved everything about this. And I know that some people are probably going to use that audio and say that this is him being senile. Because that's the shot they take on the left. Like, why did President Trump tell a story about Theodore Roosevelt tracking a 1,200-pound grizzly bear that he shot dead to rights between the eyes? I thought every part of that was hilarious, to be honest. And if I'm listening to the president talk about this and even make jokes about how he might not be intimidated by a grizzly bear, the man's almost been killed multiple times. People have tried to take his life. He's referencing talking to his sons about if a bear is actually something to be afraid of. And his two sons are like, nah, Dad, it is. You should be afraid of a bear. I think it's so amusing that Trump's like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I do. If Roosevelt could shoot one, I can probably shoot one. There's something just amazingly humorous, or at least entertaining to me, about the idea that you'd get a moment to speak, and you're speaking about Theodore Roosevelt at the Presidential Library at a dedication to it for Teddy Roosevelt. And you're telling this story because nobody but Trump goes that road that he goes. One last thing, as far as the president is concerned, this was on birthright citizenship. This I also thought was interesting.
But we'll take care of the birthright citizenship because that was not meant for rich people from other countries. That was meant for, actually, it was meant for the babies of slaves. If you look at it, it was a month after the Civil War ended that it went through. That's because it was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for rich people from China. They came over in Gulf Streams. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So
yeah, he's right.
I believe, no, I know they got it wrong. But
yeah, the Supreme Court got it wrong is what he says there. And he's 100% right about that, as Clarence Thomas wrote in his dissent, that the intention of the 14th Amendment was, in fact, to give slaves and children of slaves the right to be citizens because they'd been living here for generations, not just years, generations, then they weren't being treated like U.S. citizens, and that's horrible. And then a bunch of other things that get debated and a bunch of other ways to go with that, but I believe that we talked about that yesterday too, as far as birthright citizenship is concerned. I do think, just simplistically, that there is a very short phrase that references whether or not someone is loyal to the United States. I'm paraphrasing the words that they choose, but that's the intention of the words. And if they are, then if they have a kid here, that kid can be a citizen. If they're not, meaning if they're a national of some other place, if they're a foreign-born individual who still has citizenship in a different country, then they're loyal to some other place, some other group of people, some other government. They shouldn't be able to have a kid here and have that kid be a citizen. That would fix a lot of things, and that is the interpretation that several people in the Supreme Court had, just not enough of them. And Amy Coney Barrett is someone that a lot of people blame for this, and I think there's a lot of fairness in doing that. And I think I said it yesterday, so I'll say it again today. I feel like what happened was they found someone that they knew would help them overturn Roe versus Wade, and they didn't think any further beyond that. Because Amy Coney Barrett was one of the votes that helped turn that tide and change that rule and now allows for states to restrict abortion. So there was a big win for a lot of conservatives that came from the person that Trump appointed into the Supreme Court that was that additional vote. But now what you're seeing is a lot of not so great things because I think you were too short-sighted or people gave you some bad advice that you followed as far as people in charge. And yes, she still votes occasionally with conservatives, but nowhere near enough. And she's not alone. Of course, Justice Roberts, which is not the fault of Trump, is another person that does the same thing. All right, one last thing I want to talk about before I get out of here, and it's not politics, it's lighthearted. The Supergirl movie came out. I don't think that I know anybody that saw it. Phil, I'm assuming, did not see the Supergirl movie over the weekend. He's shaking his head no. A lot of people didn't see it. And I think the Rotten Tomatoes for the Supergirl movie is terrible. It's like a 50-something%. I like superhero movies. I had contemplated going to this one. I will say that the star of the movie started to crap all over like Republicans. She crapped over Christian dads, I think was one of the ways that she referred to people that were criticizing her online or something, and just sounded to be very politically, on that side of the aisle that doesn't do so well when they broadcast it before a movie, when they alienate some of the people who might go to this thing by essentially telling them that you hate some people for their political beliefs. That seems to have been a big part of it, but the Supergirl movie is now on track to, I think, lose like $100 million. And it's only the second movie in the DC universe that has recently been recreated by another set of people, by James Gunn, who I do like. I like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and Gunn is responsible for those. But it's just so interesting to see this flame out so profoundly poorly and to be just the second movie in what they hope to be, I think, a movie franchise. And what it says about having a famous, forefront kind of person that craps all over certain people for politics being the lead of your movie. I wonder if Hollywood will it all reconsider that. I doubt it, but it all reconsider that because of the spectacular failure that appears to be this Supergirl movie, at least after the first weekend and a couple days it's been in theaters. All right, that's it. That's the whole show. Thank you again to Cindy Siegel for being a part of it today. Thrilled to have her on. We are back tomorrow. We will probably not be here on July 3rd, nor will the Amigos, so you'll hear some best of then. But we are here tomorrow. Happy holidays, everybody. Go Team USA.